Hello, I'm Hal Ottaway with the Wichita Postcard Club, and it's time once again for a postcard of the week. Give us a like, a thumbs up on YouTube and on Facebook. We would appreciate it. After World War II, all of the men and women came back home to their towns and cities and so forth, started families, and at some point, actually in the 1950s, we developed this national rail, not rail, but national roadway system throughout the United States. Travel became easier and more interesting. And in the past, if you take out an old map, a oil company map, unfold it all, then you can see how the roads went at that earlier time, say the 20s or 30s or even into the 1940s. It was a lot of going down east on one road and then south on another road and then over, and then there would be a city. Well, the national road system that was developed was more of a straight arrow. It was more of a from point A to point B. And a lot of these little towns or smaller communities that had once sold a gas, been there for a grocery store, maybe they had a hotel or something there in town for people to spend the night. A lot of those places were put to one side and they didn't have the traffic anymore. And, that was one of the changes from all of this post war effort. In that same period, there were a lot of husbands and wives who started businesses, whether it was a restaurant, whether it was a tourist stand. It was kind of a mom and pop operation. And then as the years went by, we had uh, national organizations come along and develop restaurants, develop motels, this whole concept of travel, needing places for people to eat, needing places for people to stay. When I was a kid, my grandparents lived in Tennessee. And from Wichita, Kansas to Dixon, Tennessee, where my grandparents lived on the farm, that was a big trip. It was like 500 or 600 miles. It would take a couple of days to drive there. And one of the problems, or one of the time taker uppers, was all of this uh, going across country in our road system at that time. And I can remember that you had favorite places to stop for gasoline, and mother would, like one over the other because she thought that their restrooms were cleaner. Eating was just a real amazing thing. There were very few places to eat, other than in small towns, they might have a hotel with a restaurant or a coffee shop, and that was not very interesting. But I can remember trudging in with my sister to those kinds of places and eating, and then getting back in the car and getting on the road to our grandparents. Well, through the years, there were these changes, not only in the roadways, but the mom and pop places to eat and to stay. And then all of a sudden, there was this uh, franchise called McDonald's. And they started opening up. Now we're talking about the 1960s. So they started opening up. And one of the good things about a McDonald's is that they always had a restroom that you could use. That maybe, that's especially more important with when you have little kids or when you have older people like we are today. The postcard that I want to show today is from Wichita, and it's for the Howard Johnson Motor Lodge that was located at 7300 East Kellogg. That was on the north side of Kellogg, and today it's the western parking lot just west of Rusty Eck. which is just west of Rock Road and Town East. You kind of remember that area. Getting to Rusty Eck, you have to kind of do some planning ahead. You just don't turn off of Kellogg anymore. You have to plan ahead and get off on a exit roadway and make your way there. In any case, this is a change that we see in this particular postcard. Howard Johnson's had started out earlier in the restaurant business, and they were one of the early places that was clean and good food and sparkling and lit up. You didn't feel like you were going into some place that was dark and foreboding. But I don't remember a Howard Johnson's restaurant in Wichita, but I do in Kansas City. And as a kid up there in Kansas City with my folks and sister, we would go there. We liked it. It was good food, good service, and a nice place to have lunch or a dinner. Well, through the years, these Howard Johnson's restaurants, which were all over the country, and they were kind of a rectangular shaped, they had a red roof, they had this cupola on top with a Howard Johnson weather vane on top. They developed that as kind of their brand, their look. As you drove down the road and could look ahead, you would see their brand of operation and what was available just ahead if you turned off and drove in there. They did the same things with their motor lodges. And this postcard shows this 1960s-like architectural form. They still have the cupola on top with the Howard Johnson weather vane. And it's a more modern look. This is the office, so to speak, where you went in to reserve, see about your room for the night, pay the bill, get the key, go back out outside, climb in your car, and drive to the motel room. Howard Johnson's, for the most part, I think were two-story rooms and taking up less space. And you would park in front and either take stairs up or park right in front of your room. But this was Howard Johnson's got into this business. They developed it, and it went on for a number of years. And then, things changed and something else came along. Well, in this case in Wichita, the whole roadway in front, East Kellogg, changed. And so that's kind of how this Howard Johnson met its Waterloo. But today it's all gone. You wouldn't believe it was ever there. And Rusty Eck, their parking lot is there today. But this just goes to show how even a modern postcard, we call this modern because it's a chrome postcard. It shows automobiles in the background, so somebody sharp on cars will say, well, that's a 72 so-and-so, that sort of thing. But anyway, postcards document, they are always interesting, and that's one of the reasons why I like to go back and try to find postcards for things that are happening today. The new baseball stadium, I haven't seen a postcard of that. Or the new Eisenhower Airport, I haven't seen a postcard of that yet. But surely, hopefully, someone will do something and we'll be able to, as postcard collectors, buy them when they're available. That's the time to do it. Don't wait until they're gone and say, oh, I wish I would have done that, or wish I would have picked up two instead of just one. That's part of the fun of collecting postcards and learning about the history and remembering it too, to share with somebody else or get together with a bunch of old geezers like at a high school reunion. Well, remember when or what that place was across from East High where we used to go for hamburgers afterwards. That's all part of postcard collecting and the fun of it. And so that's my story for today. Hope you'll come again next week. And again, please like us on Facebook and YouTube. And take care.